The June 25th, 2025 errata for the Heroscape figures in alphabetical order are going to start with number 1, Acolarh, who comes in Crest of the Valkyrie. Leaf of the Home Tree aura is now changing. It originally said, when any elf you control within 8 clear sight spaces of Acolarh receives enough wounds to be destroyed, you may roll 10 Ular Valkyrie dice before removing the figure. If you roll at least 3 Ular symbols, ignore any wounds that figure just received. Acolar's Leaf of the Home Tree aura does not affect Acolarh. So now it would be Leaf of the Home Tree aura. When any elf you control within 8 clear sight spaces of Acolarh would take enough wounds to be destroyed, you may roll 10 Ular Valkyrie dice before removing the figure. If you roll at least 3 Ular symbols, ignore any wounds that figure would have taken. Acolar's Leaf of the Home Tree aura does not affect Acolarh. Agent Skahen. Cover fire. When attacking an opponent's figure, if Agent Skahen inflicts 1 or more wounds, you may move 1 tricky figure you control who follows Vidar and is within 8 clear sight spaces of Agent Skahen up to 4 spaces. You cannot use cover fire to move Agent Skahen. That is now changed to cover fire. After Agent Skahen attacks with a normal attack, if she inflicted 1 or more wounds, you may move 1 tricky figure you control who follows Vidar and is within 8 clear sight spaces of Agent Skahen up to 4 spaces. You cannot use cover fire to move Agent Skahen. Airborne Elite. The grenade special attack is actually changing, and rather than reading over what was, I'm just going to go with what is now. The grenade special attack lob has been removed. Now it is range 5, attack 2, explosion 1. The Airborne Elite may only use grenade special attack once per game. If they do, all attacking Airborne Elite must use the grenade special attack. If neither the attacking Airborne Elite nor the targeted figure are under an overhang, no line of sight is needed. Anubian Wolves. They have a change to Unleashed Fury. At the start of an Anubian Wolf's turn, roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 1, choose an Anubian Wolf you control and destroy it. If you roll any other result, increase the attack value of this card until the end of the Anubian Wolf's turn as follows. If you roll a 2 to 6, add 1 to its attack value. If you roll 12 to 15, add 3 to its attack value. If you roll a 16 to 19, add 4 to its attack value. If you roll a 20, add 8 to its attack value. Atlaga, the Kyrie Warrior. And that is going to be, the wings are no longer a hit zone. The wording for Blastatrons, homing device, is changing. It is now, when attacking a non-adjacent figure, add 1 to that Blastatron's attack value for every Vidar Soulborg you control adjacent to the defending figure. Archer's Glory is getting some word cleanup to now be after taking a turn with Brandis Skyhunter. If he destroys an opponent's non-adjacent unique hero, you may take another turn with Brandis. Brave Arrow is getting some changes to Concealment 10. Concealment 10 is now, if Brave Arrow is targeted and would take 1 or more wounds from an attacking figure that is not adjacent, roll the 20-sided die. Count the minimum number of spaces between the attacker and Brave Arrow. Add this number to your roll. If you roll a 10 or higher, ignore those wounds. Chadris. His Fireball is no longer a hit zone. And Fire Strike Special Attack is now going to be range 6, attack 2, plus special. When Chadris attacks with Fire Strike Special Attack, add 1 to Chadris' attack dice for every additional elf wizard you control within 3 clear sight spaces of Chadris, up to a maximum of plus 3 dice. And how I pronounce it, Charos has improved Counter-Strike now instead of Counter-Strike. The improved comes in because it can actually Counter-Strike Samurai. So, improved Counter-Strike is when Charos successfully defends against a normal attack from an adjacent attacking figure, the attacking figure takes 1 wound for each excess shield. Normal Counter-Strike cannot affect Samurai. Crixus, 1 shield defense, is changing too. When comparing Crixus' shield results to an attacker's skull results, if there are more skull results than shield results, and at least 1 shield was rolled, Crixus blocks all skulls except for 1. Deathreavers are getting a change to Scatter. After a Deathreaver you control is attacked by an opponent's figure with a normal attack, you may move any 2 Deathreavers you control up to 4 spaces each. Death Chasers of Thesk. This cloak on the cloaked Death Chaser is now a hit zone, but the bandana on this Death Chaser is no longer a hit zone. So again, the flowing cloak is now a hit zone, and the bandana on the other Death Chaser is not a hit zone. So it already has it not as a hit zone, but I guess the part wrapped around his forehead is not a hit zone now? The Death Knights of Valkrill, their cloaks are now hit zones. Deathwalker 9000 range enhancement is now changing to Soulborg guards you control with a range of 4 or more that are adjacent to Deathwalker 9000 add 2 to their range value. The Dreadnoughts of Caraway Cavern are getting a change to the Captain's Way. It will now be, at the start of the game, choose a unique captain in your army to be the Dreadnoughts of Caraway Cavern's captain for this game. When attacked by a non-adjacent figure, add 1 to the defense value of Dreadnought of Caraway Cavern if their chosen captain is within 4 clear sight spaces. So it changes it to just a blanket defense for all of them if one of them is within 4 clear sight spaces to incidental if the one being attacked is within 4 clear sight spaces. Dund is getting a change to Crippling Gaze. That is now going to be Crippling Gaze. At the start of Dund's turn, you may choose a figure within 5 clear sight spaces of Dund. Roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 15 or higher, remove all order markers on the chosen figure's army card. Estivara is getting a change to Venom Ray Special Attack. It is now going to be Range 5, Attack 3. If Venom Ray Special Attack would inflict at least 1 wound, roll a 20-sided die for venom damage. If you roll a 10 to 19, add 1 to the number of wounds inflicted and roll again for venom damage. If you roll a 20, destroy the defending figure. The change to the Fire Elemental is that its target point for the Fire Elemental is now just below the top flame on its head, where the indentations are for its eyes. Normally it's kind of here in the center, but it's actually, this is kind of hard to see with the translucent figure here, it's going to be drawn from these indentations right there by the tip of the flame. That's where its eyes are supposed to be. Garushia Grovekeeper is getting a change to Gift of the Forest. It is now going to be, at the end of a round, if Garushia is within 1 space of a tree or bush, you may remove 1 wound marker from this army card. Because it originally said is next to, but is within 1 space is more proper Heroscape terminology. Glenerva the Kyrie Warrior is getting a change to Concealment 17. It is now going to read, Concealment 17. If Glenerva is targeted and would take 1 or more wounds from an attacking figure who is not adjacent, you must roll the 20-sided die. Count the minimum number of spaces between the attacker and Glenerva. Add this number to your die roll. If you roll a 17 or higher, ignore those wounds. Greenscale Warriors are getting a change to Loyalty to the Lizard King. It is now going to read, Loyalty to the Lizard King. At the start of the game, choose a unique Lizard Folk hero or unique large or huge dragon in your army to be the Greenscale Warriors Lizard King. A Greenscale Warrior adds 1 to its attack and defense values while its chosen Lizard King is within 2 clear sight spaces. Grimnack is getting a change to Chomp. It is now going to read, Before attacking, you may choose 1 small or medium figure adjacent to Grimnack. If the chosen figure is a squad figure, destroy it. If the chosen figure is a hero figure, roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 16 or higher, destroy the chosen hero. Gurei-Oni is getting a change to Evil Eye Defense. It's now going to read, Evil Eye Defense. When Gurei-Oni successfully defends against a normal attack from a non-adjacent attacking figure, inflict 1 wound on the attacking figure for each excess shield. Hornskull Brutes are getting a change to Expendable Rabble. That will now read, Expendable Rabble. If a Hornskull Brute you control is attacked with a normal attack by an opponent's figure and would receive 1 or more wounds, you may destroy a small goblin figure you control that is adjacent to that Hornskull Brute to ignore those wounds. Ice Troll Berserker is getting a change to where the coverings on him, his loincloth, is now a targetable zone. It's a hit zone. The Izumi Samurai are getting a change to Counterstrike. When an Izumi Samurai successfully defends against a normal attack from an adjacent figure that is not a samurai, the attacking figure takes 1 wound for each excess shield. Johnny Shotgun Sullivan is getting changes to hit zones. His duster is now going to be a hit zone, but the brim of his hat is not. Kaemon Awa is getting changed to the wording of Quick Release Special Attack and Counter-Strike. His card is going to be Quick Release Special Attack. Kaemon Awa may attack up to 2 times with Quick Release Special Attack. And Counter-Strike. When Kaemon Awa successfully defends against a normal attack from an adjacent figure that is not a samurai, the attacking figure takes 1 wound for each excess shield. Kato Katsuro is getting changes to Kato Katsuro's command. And that is now going to be, after revealing an order marker on Kato Katsuro, instead of taking a turn with him, you may take a turn with one of the following you control. 1 Samurai Hero, 1 Samurai Squad, or 1 Ashigaru Harquebus Squad, and or 1 Ashigaru Yari Squad. You may choose which squad to activate first. Any figure in the above list that is taking a turn instead of Kato Katsuro must be within clear sight of Kato Katsuro before moving. Kee-Mo-Shi is getting changed to her Toxic Skin. Toxic Skin 17. At the end of Kee-Mo-Shi's turn, you must roll the 20-sided die once for each figure adjacent to Kee-Mo-Shi. If you roll a 17 or higher, that figure takes 1 wound. Soulborgs are not affected by Toxic Skin 17. Knaves of the Silver Scimitar, like the Dreadnoughts of Caraway Cavern, are getting a change to the Captain's Way. And that is also going to read as, at the start of the game, choose a unique captain in your army to be the Knaves of the Silver Scimitar's captain for this game. When attacked by a non-adjacent figure, add 1 to the defense value of a Knave of the Silver Scimitar if their chosen captain is within 4 clear sight spaces. Kozuke Samurai are getting the cleanup to Counter-Strike and also some wordage to Charging Assault. Charging Assault is going to be before moving with an unengaged Kozuke Samurai, you may add 3 to that samurai's move value if that samurai could move adjacent to an enemy figure with the increased move value. If a samurai uses Charging Assault, it must end its movement adjacent to an enemy figure if possible. And then Counter-Strike gets cleaned up to when Kozuke Samurai successfully defend against a normal attack from an adjacent attacking figure that is not a samurai. The attacking figure takes 1 wound for each excess shield. The Krakenling is getting some changes to Warp Space and Eldritch Switch. Warp Space is now going to read, instead of moving normally with a Krakenling, you may place the Krakenling on an empty space within 4 spaces. If Krakenling is engaged when it starts to Warp Space, it will take any leaving engagement attacks. And Eldritch Switch. Eldritch Switch. After moving normally with a Krakenling, that Krakenling may switch spaces with an adjacent single-space figure. Figures moved by Eldritch Switch may never take a leaving engagement attack. Loviatak's Deadly Strike is changing. When rolling attack dice with Loviatak, each skull rolled counts for 1 additional skull. MacDirk Warriors are getting a change to Highland Fury. At the start of the game, choose a human champion in your army. While that champion is in play, MacDirk Warriors increase their attack value by 1 for each wound marker on the chosen hero. MacDirk Warriors cannot attack their chosen human champion. Marrden Hounds are getting some word cleanup for Wild Pack movement. At the start of Marrden Hound's turn, roll the 20-sided die. Increase the move value of this card until the end of Marrden Hound's turn as follows. If you roll a 1 to 3, add 1 to its move value. 4 to 6, add 3 to its move value. If you roll a 7 to 20, add 7 to its move value. Marrden Nagrubs are getting a change to Hive Lord Life Bonding. Before taking a turn with a Marrden Nagrubs, you may first take a turn with any Hive Lord you control. At the start of that Hive Lord's turn, you may destroy 1 adjacent Marrden Nagrub you control. If you do, remove 1 wound marker from the chosen Hive Lord's army card. Marro Drones are getting a change of wording to Hive Swarm. Hive Swarm is, at the start of Marro Drones' turn, roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 1 to 12, you may move an attack with up to 3 Marro Drones you control. If you roll a 13 to 16, you may move an attack with up to 6 Marro Drones you control. If you roll a 17 to 20, you may move an attack with up to 9 Marro Drones you control. Marro Hive If the Marro Hive was placed on the battlefield by a player as part of their army, when it is destroyed, remove the hive and its 6-hex swamp water tile base. If the Marro Hive was placed on the battlefield as directed by a scenario when it is destroyed, remove the Marro Hive and leave the 6-hex swamp tile base on the battlefield. Master of the Hunt, his skirt is still a hit zone, but he is getting some changes to Mortal Strike. When an opponent's unique hero takes one or more wounds from a normal attack from this Master of the Hunt, roll 1 combat die for each wound inflicted in that attack. For each additional skull rolled, the defending figure takes 1 wound. Microcorp Agents are getting a change to Stealth Armor 15. Stealth Armor 15, when a Microcorp Agent would take 1 or more wounds, roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 15 or higher, ignore those wounds. Migol Ironwill's change in wording is going to come to Deadly Strike and 1 Shield Defense. Deadly Strike is going to be when rolling attack dice with Migol Ironwill, each skull rolled counts for 1 additional skull, and 1 shield defense. When comparing Migol Ironwill's shield results to an attacker's skull results, if there are more skull results than shield results and at least 1 wound or 1 shield was rolled, Migol blocks all skulls except for 1. Mimring is getting some minor changes to where he can use his horns as a secondary target point, and also Fireline Special Attack is no longer Range Special Attack 4. It is now going to be Attack 4, Line 8, to line up with the cleaned up wording of Renegade Game Studios. Minions of Utgar getting a change to Deadly Strike. That is now going to be when rolling attack dice with a minion of Utgar, each skull rolled counts as 1 additional skull. Mohican River Tribe is getting changes to Concealment 19. That is now going to be Concealment 19. When a Mohican River tribesman you control is targeted by and would take 1 or more wounds from an attacking figure that is not adjacent, roll the 20-sided die. Count the minimum number of spaces between the attacker and the Mohican River tribesman. Add this number to your die roll. If you roll a 19 or higher, ignore those wounds. Omnicron Snipers' Deadly Shot is now going to read as, when rolling attack dice with an Omnicron Sniper, each skull rolled counts for 1 additional skull. Othkirk can now use his neck spikes as a secondary target point. Parmenio is getting a change to Disciplined Influence. At the start of the game, you may choose any unique army card in your army. For this game, the chosen card's personality is disciplined regardless of what is listed on the card. And also, Sacred Band Defy Death 15 is going to get 2 words added to it. When an adjacent Sacred Band figure you control would take, that's the change, 1 or more wounds, roll the 20-sided die before removing that figure. If you roll a 15 or higher, ignore those wounds. So instead of receives 1 or more wounds, it's would take 1 or more wounds. Alright, Peloton Bicycles is going to get a change to Lolth's Wrath. Peloth now has Lolth's Wrath. Before attacking with Peloth, you may choose a drow figure you control that is within 5 clear sight spaces of Peloth and roll 3 attack dice. 1 at a time. For each skull rolled, you may inflict 1 wound on any small or medium figure that is within 2 clear sight spaces of the chosen drow figure. You may inflict more than 1 wound on a single figure using Lolth's Wrath. After using Lolth's Wrath, destroy the chosen drow figure. The Protectors of Ular change is their wings are no longer a hit zone. Rogar Dragonspine is getting Dragon Breath Special Attack to now be Dragon Breath Special Attack, Attack 3, Line 3. Roman Legionnaires are getting some cleanup to Shield Wall. That is now going to be Shield Wall. When defending with a Roman Legionnaire, increase that Roman Legionnaire's defense value by 1 for each adjacent Roman Legionnaire you control to a maximum of +2. Ask how, ask now, ask Sherwin Williams. Alright, Sherwin Williams has now Arcane Riposte, and that is going to read as, when Sharwin Wildborn successfully defends against a normal attack, inflict 1 wound on the attacking figure for each excess shield. Sentinels of Jandar have a height of 6. The reason that changed is some cards came printed with a medium 5, but 6 is the height. Siege is getting a change to where his cloak is now a hit zone. Sir Dupuis is changing to where his shield is no longer a hit zone. And Tactical Disengagement 7 is getting some cleanup. That is now going to be if Sir Dupuis would take 1 or more wounds from a leaving engagement attack, roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 7 or higher, ignore those wounds. Shades of Bleakwood are getting Soul Devour changed to Soul Devour 19. That's now going to read as follows. Soul Devour 19. At the start of Shades of Bleakwood's turn, each Shade of Bleakwood you control may choose an adjacent unique hero. Roll the 20-sided die once for each shade. If you roll a 19 or higher, destroy that Shade of Bleakwood, then take control of the chosen unique hero and remove any order markers on its army card. You now control that army card. Shiori is getting changes to Kiru 14. That is now going to read as Kiru 14. If Shiori is attacked with a normal or special attack and would take 1 or more wounds, roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 14 or higher, you may place Shiori on an empty space within 2 spaces of Shiori that is not more than 6 levels above or below Shiori's level. If you do, ignore those wounds. I wonder, would she take... No, it's place, it's not move, so she would not take a leaving engagement attack. It's pointless to add this to the video. Shurak is getting Knockback 14 changed to Knockback. After Shurak attacks, you may roll the 20-sided die for each small or medium figure Shurak attacked this turn that was not destroyed by that attack. 1 at a time, if you roll a 14 or higher, place that figure on an empty space within 3 clear sight spaces of Shurak. The space must be on the same level as or lower than its current location. A figure moved by knockback never takes any leaving engagement attacks. A non-flying figure moved lower by knockback can take any falling damage that may apply. Regarding Sonlin's Dragon Healing, the wording is going to cleaned up and be reflected as Dragon Healing. At the start of Sonlin's turn, you may choose Sonlin or a hero figure within 4 clear sight spaces of Sonlin. Roll a 20-sided die. If you roll a 15 or higher, remove 1 wound marker from the chosen hero's army card. Sujoa is getting some cleanup to Poison Sting Special Attack. That is now going to be Range 1, Attack 4. If Poison Sting Special Attack would inflict at least 1 wound, roll the 20-sided die for poison damage. If you roll a 10 to 19, add 1 to the number of wounds inflicted and roll again for poison damage. If you roll a 20, destroy the defending figure. Swag Rider's Orc Archer enhancement is all friendly Orc Archers add 1 to their attack and defense values for each adjacent Swag Rider you control. Taylord the Kyrie Warrior does not have flying. He has Stealth Flying. When counting spaces for Taylord's movement, ignore elevations. Taylord may fly over water without stopping, pass over figures without becoming engaged, and fly over obstacles such as ruins. When Taylord starts to fly, if he is engaged, he will not take any leaving engagement attacks. Tagawa Samurai, getting some verbiage organization to Counterstrike, which will now be Counterstrike. When Tagawa Samurai successfully defend against a normal attack from an adjacent attacking figure that is not a samurai, the attacking figure takes 1 wound for each excess shield. Tagawa Samurai Archers, also getting some cleanup to Counterstrike. That is going to be Counterstrike. When Tagawa Samurai Archers successfully defend against a normal attack from an adjacent attacking figure that is not a samurai, the attacking figure takes 1 wound for each excess shield. Tandros Creel is getting cleanup to Cleave. That is going to be Cleave, Tandros Creel. When Tandros Creel attacks an adjacent figure before rolling attack dice, you may choose 1 squad figure that is also adjacent to Tandros Creel. If the defending figure takes any wounds from Tandros Creel's attack, the chosen figure takes 1 wound. The Templar Cavalry are supposed to be following Jandar, not the misprinted Einar symbol. I believe many, if not all of them, were printed with an Einar symbol. At least the first drafts were. All of my Templar Cavalry army cards have the Einar symbol, but it is supposed to be Jandar. Tauren is getting some cleanup to Evil Eye Protection. When Tauren or an adjacent friendly small or medium Utgar figure successfully defends against a normal attack from a non-adjacent figure, the attacking figure takes 1 wound for each excess shield. Ulganesh is getting a change to Mind Link. Mind Length will now be Mind Link, not Length. After revealing an order marker on Ulganesh, instead of taking a turn with him, you may take a turn with up to 2 other elf wizards you control. Any elf wizard that is taking a turn instead of Ulganesh must be within 6 clear sight spaces of Ulganesh before moving. Zenithrax the Vineweaver, she may use her horns as a secondary targeting point. Giamara the Kyrie Warrior is getting some cleanup to Amulet of Pavitar. Amulet of Pavitar. When a Kyrie you control who follows Ular within 6 clear sight spaces of Giamara, the Kyrie Warrior would receive 1 or more wounds. You may roll the 20-sided die. If you roll an 8 to 16, ignore all but 1 wound. If you roll a 17 or higher, ignore all wounds. Amulet of the Pavitar does not affect Giamara. And Deadly Shot for Zetacron is getting some cleanup to be Deadly Shot. When rolling attack dice with Zetacron, each skull rolled counts for 1 additional skull. They're changing hit to skull. And that is the card errata for Heroscape as of 6/25/25, June 25th, 2025. And that is mostly just cleanup of how the word flows to match with the terminology of player turns and skulls versus hits and stuff like that. So not too many huge changes to cards, but unreleased figures and old figures all got some sweeping changes. There will probably be more in the future, but as of right now, this is where we are sitting, and those are all the figures that have changed. I've decided to not do what I just did with those with the card clarifications, because most of the card clarifications, which will be upcoming, are going to be just situational, and the document will have the answer you're looking for if that exact situation arises for you. But I will list off the characters that are going to have those card clarifications. It'll not be part of the actual errata breakdown video, but it will be part of the larger fact document and errata document video that is going to have the errata that you just saw for the cards separate. So again, you'll have heard a lot of this stuff twice. This is going to serve as a chapter transition in the main video as well as an outro for the errata card video. So if you're looking for the card clarifications, that list is going to be in the main video, and it will not be broken down because there's a lot of stuff here, and that would just add like another 20 minutes of situational questions to the video. But I will list each figure in here, so maybe if those questions come up, you will have a spot to look for them. Aside from the actual document, which is much easier than fishing through my video when I'm not going to put chapters for each of these questions.